Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks! What are you?
I'm...
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from any and all corners of the nerd universe. We find out more about them by taking your questions. I'm your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture, and our guest on this episode is apparently somebody that I have a lot in common with when we were talking earlier backstage in the green room, but we just didn't even know. It's like 6 degrees of separation. Please welcome indie comic book writer extraordinaire Rich Davis to the stage.
Hey, what's
Hello,
up, man?
Rich.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me, man. Good to be here.
We're very happy that you're with us here, Rich Davis. Now, if you have any questions for this kind gentleman, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. Our producer is going to be monitoring it as we go throughout the course of this program. Without any further ado, Rich, when were you introduced to the world of comics?
Well, as far as reading comics, I was probably about 8, 9 years old. I really didn't like comics earlier in life because I didn't like to read. All I wanted to do was play baseball and play video games. And my very clever parents really wanted me to be a reader. So they tricked me into learning to want to read because if I did well in school or if I did all my chores or, if I was just good, they would let me go over to Bob's Collector's Den in Cookeville, Tennessee. It was like a next town over from my town. And I could buy comic books and I started loving them. And because little kid brain me didn't realize that comic books were reading. And, but from there, it just kind of blossomed into a lifelong love affair with the written word. And today I'm a voracious reader. I still read a newspaper every morning. I read books all the time. Of course, I still read comic books. I don't read a lot of superhero books anymore. I've kind of moved on to genre books. I'm obviously really big into horror, big surprise there. Sci-fi, fantasy, things like that. It was all because my mom was very clever and would not give up on me and really wanted me to be a reader.
So I guess she emphasized the words, take a look. It's in a book.
Reading Rainbow.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. See, I was wondering if someone was going to catch that or not, which obviously this kind fellow over here did. And by the way, I had the pleasure of meeting LeVar Burton one time in real life. Oh. He's a nice guy. He's a very nice guy.
That's good to hear. That dude, when I was a kid, I used to love it. Because we had like at my grandparents' house, they only had like 3 channels. It was like one of like the antenna, and one of them was PBS. Oh. So Reading Rainbow came on PBS a lot, and I got to see Bob Ross, all that cool stuff. And Wild America with Marty Stauffer. So yeah, it was I was a PBS kid when I was with my grandparents.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah. Not only did I meet him, he signed my Reading Rainbow book I had since I was a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was when he saw that, he thought, man, okay, signing one of these. Because I had the Reading Rainbow book insignia on the book.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And it was great. And it was actually because when I was growing up as a kid, one of my fascinations was with trains.
Okay.
So it was a book called Kate Shelley and the Midnight Express about the girl who had to cross a bridge in a deadly storm to rescue this train that was going to drop off a bridge because the bridge was out because it was flooded. Uh-huh. So it's a great story. Feel free to, if you want to go back to when we were 5, feel free to look at Kate Shelley and the Midnight Express by Margaret K. Wetterer. Illustrations by Karen Ritz. See, I still remember all this stuff. So life's better when you're reading a book.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So many lessons were learned in that show.
I would venture to say so. Yeah. So you mentioned this already, but I want to piggyback on this for just a minute. What would you say are some of your favorite movies or TV series growing up? Anything else stand out?
So I was a weird kid in that regard too. My parents never censored anything that I watched. They would allow me to watch anything. I could watch horror movies, whatever. And they would just talk to me. I mean, imagine that, parents actually talking to their children instead of just saying, no, you can't do that. So I used to love Scooby-Doo, huge Scooby-Doo fan. And I used to be so scared watching it. I remember my parents had this big black leather couch in their living room, and I would hide behind it, and I'd poke my head around and I'd see it, and then I'd scream and I'd cry. And every day Mom would threaten to not let me watch Scooby-Doo anymore. And I'd beg, please, please, Mom, I won't be scared anymore. And then, next day, rinse, repeat. Movies, Interview with the Vampire, all-time favorite film. The Halloween series, I've loved it since I was very small. I remember watching A Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a kid, way too young to be watching these movies. But I loved them. They gave me nightmares, but they also made an impression on me. And I think ultimately pushed me into the world of writing horror. And then I liked Days of Our Lives. Actually, I would watch that in the summer, when I was home from school. So, like I said, I was a weird kid when it came to the type of entertainment I consumed.
Oh, goodness gracious. Days of Our Lives. I think you may be, I don't know if this is true or not. Someone can correct me in the chat. You may be the first person in the history of this program, known as And I Quote specifically, I'm not talking about the other stuff,
Right.
who has ever admitted, yes, I've watched soap operas.
Oh, yeah.
So,
hey, that summer when Marlena was possessed by the devil, dude, that was great TV. That was the best television ever.
Well, let's face it, with regards to soap operas as a whole, they do have some attractive people.
Hey, yeah.
On those sets. So have at it.
And they're great stories if you don't think too hard.
Oh, okay.
Just take them for what they are.
Well, then I guess I should go back and watch a few episodes because I was thinking too much.
Right, exactly. Those shows are not a thinking man's show. They're just sit back and enjoy. It's just a wild, crazy, soapy ride.
Okay. I should go back and watch some Days of Our Lives. I should probably add to the list.
Yeah.
Maybe a few others. I don't know. They're probably available to stream somewhere on YouTube.
I'm sure. Or
somewhere
you
can find a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And later in life, I got to actually do a play with Joe Gallison, who was he was a doctor on Days of Our Lives.
Whoa.
Oh my God, it just slipped my mind. But Joe's fantastic. He was such a nice guy. We did Much Ado About Nothing for Shakespeare on the Green in Wilmington, North Carolina. So Joe was fantastic. So yeah, it was really cool for me to be like, hey, I watched you when I was a kid, and now I'm working with you. Now I'm doing lines with you across the stage.
Goodness gracious, you got quite the resume.
Hey, my life has been a lot of things, but it's never been boring.
I would totally agree with that. My gosh, I'm being tongue-tied right now. But but as far as the comic book portion of this goes, what would you say are some of your favorite comic book characters?
That's a good one. Growing up, the capes and tights stuff. X-Men. I was a huge Cyclops, Scott Summers fan. Jean Grey. Hated Wolverine. God, I hated Wolverine. I've come to like him a little bit more, but I still don't really like him. Angel and Psylocke were great for me. Magneto, still my all-time favorite villain. Fantastic Four, I still to this day, that's probably my favorite comic book series. I love Reed Richards, love Sue Storm, Dr. Doom. It's such a fantastic story. I'm really looking forward to the new when the MCU finally brings Fantastic Four in, and I'm very happy that they may be casting Pedro Pascal, because that tells me that they are going to focus on the family unit, because that's what Fantastic Four was about. I mean, the best Fantastic Four movie ever made is The Incredibles. It's about that family core unit, so I'm excited to see that. Indie comics, which is really where I hit my swing. Death from Sandman. I've loved that character. I think she's a manic pixie dream girl, but you know what? That's okay. When I read Sandman for the first time, I was probably, I don't know, 14, 15 years old. So I could totally relate to the concept of a manic pixie dream girl. I am still also to this day, I'm a big Superman fan. I've often said that if I were ever able to write a superhero comic, Superman would be probably the only one I would actually want to write, except for maybe Iron Man. And I would only want to write Iron Man to completely destroy that character, because I hate Tony Stark.
Oh my. Okay, we're getting into some interesting pieces of this puzzle, because I got to tell you, Superman's my number one. Superman's the GOAT. I'm a huge fan of Superman. Tons of Superman swag in my collection. You just can't see it right now because we're on set.
Nice.
But Superman's the GOAT. Made some good friends because of that fandom. So
Yeah.
you just got added to the nice list. So good for you.
Nice.
Which is great. You and I are going to have to exchange some information here in the green room afterwards. But Iron Man, yeah, I knew who he was because I watched a lot of the animated series in the 90s as a kid. But when RDJ shows up, I'm like, oh, that's Tony Stark. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So
he did a great, the MCU version of Tony Stark. RDJ's obviously fantastic.
He nailed it.
Best ever. I can never forgive Tony Stark for being a fascist in Civil War. He killed Captain America, and no, he didn't. He didn't actually fire the shot, but it all happened because Tony was a fascist. And I will to this day argue with anyone that Tony Stark is a fascist.
Boy, that's going to cause a stir in the comments. Well, I want to let you know that in case you do want to tune in and keep tuning in, this is And I Quote with comic writer Rich Davis on this episode. Don't forget. Oh boy. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions, which I'm sure that you do, let us know in the comments. Let us know.
You're going to get hot takes from me, man. I don't hold anything back.
Honestly, let's hold a Marvel versus DC discussion, because those always go over well.
Oh, yeah, man. They always go over well because Marvel's just better.
So-and-so. Yeah, exactly. We could just throw in a blank. I think the blank was, oh, by the way, Charlie Megan says, I'm speechless.
What? I'm glad, Charlie. Mission accomplished.
With everything you just said, she's speechless. There you go, Charlie. If you want to ask him a question, by all means, feel free to do so if you have a moment to spare. But by the way, Charlie, thank you for joining us. Do appreciate it. Charlie's one of our new best friends here on the Nerd Culture Network. So thank you, Charlie. You're awesome, by the way. She does cosplay mashups, which is really creative.
Oh, nice.
I think of her. I think it's very creative.
I love cosplayers.
Yeah, I think she told me the other day she did a mashup of Star Wars and Game of Thrones as a cosplay outfit. That is fascinating, by the way.
Wow.
So
cosplayers
let us know.
Are so clever, man. It's an underappreciated art form. It really, really is,
Which is cosplay?
Cosplay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because these people, they do some just incredible work. And, I've had the privilege of going to some amazing cons. I was at San Diego Comic-Con as a guest this year. I've been a guest at New York Comic-Con for a couple of years. And Dragon Con, of course, that's my home. I love Dragon Con. And the cosplay, I mean, it's movie quality. And, these people, they put so much time and effort into it. And they're really, really just underrated and underappreciated artists.
I would totally agree with that. And by the way, Charlie answers the question. She did a Mandalorian Greyjoy. Yeah.
That's awesome. I could totally see that. I'm going to follow her on Instagram. I want to see that.
Please do. Charlie, if you want, feel free to drop your links in the chat so more people can follow you, including our good friend here, Rich Davis, by the way. So you spoke about characters. Now I'm really curious. I know you mentioned you were kind of leaning in this direction, but I want to focus on that for just a moment. What are some of your favorite comic book based movies or TV series, past or present?
Okay. Well, fresh on my mind is Generation V from the makers of The Boys. If you haven't seen that, it's fantastic. I was a little worried when I started watching the first episode. I was like, oh, this is going to be really, really cheesy. No, it's not. It's really, really good. And I do love The Boys. The Boys was one of my favorite comic book series of the kind of mid zeros, I guess, is 05, 06 is maybe when it came out. Walking Dead is a damn near perfect adaptation of it. I'm doing everything recently for some reason. I really enjoyed Watchmen on HBO. That was fantastic. Going back a little bit, Blade. I mean, that was probably my first real introduction to a comic book movie. Of course, Batman '89. It was great, but I was more, Blade was more into my wheelhouse and my age. I just really, really dug that. Scott Pilgrim versus the World is amazing. Here recently, I've gotten into Attack on Titan. I wish I was in my office right now because I've got an entire corner of my office that is nothing but Attack on Titan stuff. I know that's manga, but manga is just a cooler version of comic books today. So, things like that. I've always been pretty into the horror, pretty into the kind of the weird stuff. Not really a capes and tights kind of guy.
Which is fair. It's completely fair. Everybody has different tastes, respectively. What is this? Charlie has something to share with us. She says, I can't wait to see where they take Gen V.
Oh, man, I can't wait for season 2. It's going to be so good.
There you go. Maybe something I should add to my list.
Definitely.
Respectively so. So you mentioned Blade. Blade just turned 25 earlier this year. Fun fact.
Yep.
We did a 25th anniversary watch along. If you want to go back, that's on our Movie Nerds and Marvel Nerds playlist. Feel free to go back and watch that. That was a lot of fun. And also, I think Blade's introduction is one of the best introductions to a character I've ever seen in the movie during the blood rave scene.
Yep.
And that
I actually used that blood rave as an inspiration for a scene in Rise of Dracula, which is my second comic book series. It's right there in issue 1. It's when we're meeting the Ruthven sisters, who turned out to be just absolute insanely fun characters to write, but they're going into a blood rave, and one of the reviewers coined it children margarita blenders. So again, they're vampires, and it's a total homage to Blade, but over the dance floor there's like these people in cages, and a lot of them are kids, because for some reason I kill kids in my books a lot, and these blades are just slowly sinking down on them, and then right when it hits a part, the blenders hit them and blood just goes everywhere in the rave, and it's fun. So that's how much of an impact Blade made on my life.
These are images that are going to keep me up tonight. So, and the theme song that's being played during the blood rave, the confusion, it's
great.
It's everything. It's just draws the line in the sand. Everyone says we're going to kill him. It's like, no, you're not going to touch me because I'm prepared for this fight. Don't touch me. And then Jordan, who's that? Jordan Hagar says, hey, everyone. What's up, Jordan?
Yeah, what's up, Jordan?
Good to have you here. Thanks for being here. With that being said, when did you decide to become a comic book writer?
I don't know if I really decided or kind of stumbled into it, to be honest. So I started, most of my career is in playwriting and screenwriting. So that's kind of my background, long background in film and theater. And so Cult of Dracula, which is my first comic, it started as a stage play. And I went into, once the stage play was finished, it was very successful, and I wanted to adapt it into an independent film. Started working on that, and then unfortunately, my wife Amber, who passed away in 2020, she became very ill with chronic kidney disease, and so I couldn't really, didn't have the time, the resources to devote to making a film. So Amber was like, well, I get it. I know why we can't do a film, but why don't you do a comic book? Because writing a comic book is very similar to writing a screenplay. I mean, comic books have more in common with screenplays than they do with prose novels. It's a completely different skill set. So I decided, like, yeah, why don't we do that? And so I got with my friend Georges Genti, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's doing Mandalorian right now, Serenity. And got his advice. I'd also been fortunate enough to become friends with the late Tom Lyle, Spider-Man, Batman, really good Marvel, DC artist. I got really good encouragement and a lot of good advice from them. And so I wrote Cult of Dracula, managed to get it out, gone on the shelves with Source Point Press, and it became a top 50 best-selling comic of 2021. So, and from there I was hooked. I'm like, wow, I kind of like doing this, and people kind of like reading what I write. So let's make a career out of it.
That is, wow, your story just takes so many interesting turns. I'm telling you. It goes from we're going zigging, then we're zagging, and then we go from stage left to stage right, as they say in theater, because I did theater when I was in high school and college. Yeah. Jordan Hagar says, just like me. Yeah.
Jordan's had a roller coaster ride too.
I think you and I can both agree that life is a roller coaster for sure. So,
absolutely,
it hits its peaks and its valleys, and there's some weird stuff in between. And you mentioned one of the individuals that you've been working with has been working on what is known as Mandalorian. And when I hear Mandalorian, all I think is this.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
I mean,
Love it.
because it
Love
is.
it.
It's the only way.
It is the way.
It's the Star
This is the
Wars
way.
way because Star Wars is awesome.
Yes.
So, which I
And
can
that
tell
is
that you have a bit of a display back there of Star Wars. Is that right?
A little bit. Yeah, there's some Star Wars up here, some R2D2, Darth Vader. These right here, these are coasters that actually make a Death Star, which is pretty rad. So yeah, and I got some cool stuff from Sandman. Got a interview with a vampire mask up here that I actually bought from Anne Rice. That's from the Memnock Ball. So yeah, I'm a little bit little eclectic, and of course I got my Joker Harley, my favorite Alex Ross cover from Batman. Absolutely adore that. So yeah, a little bit of geekdom, and I wish I could show you my office right now because it's it's pretty cool like that too. At least I think it's cool.
Yeah. Well, maybe after the show we can do an MTV Cribs.
There we go. Yeah.
Of Rich Davis on MTV Cribs.
I one day want to be in that level so I can do Cribs.
Yeah.
We'll just revive it. We'll bring it back, and I'll be that famous.
Yeah. I could be the cameraman if you want.
I'm down.
Be the cameraman. I can help you behind the scenes. I can do a bit of acting if you need me to pretend like. I mean, I can't pretend because I think you and I are becoming friends here.
Yeah.
I could be like the friend who knocks on his door. Is like, hey man, what's up? Oh, hey man, we're filming. Do you want to be in? Do you want to
be in the show? Come on.
You want to be in the show? Jump on in here.
Hell yeah.
It's like
I think we just came up with a pitch, man. We can get MTV to redo this show, man. Bring it back from the dead.
I'm up for it. I've done acting. I've done a little behind the scenes work when I did stuff in college. I mean, granted, it's been a while, so I'm a bit rusty when it comes to certain things, but I'm willing to learn because there's always something to learn.
Yeah.
So you never know. Crazier things have happened. What isn't crazy is this episode of And I Quote with the eclectic one known as Rich Davis. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions or just comments for him, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments. If you're joining this live or on the replay, thank you for being here. And don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards about being a comic writer?
Honestly, meeting fellow creators. I grew up, from time I was probably 12 until my early to mid 20s. I'm just this guy kind of bouncing around conventions and idolizing these people, and now I get to go there and I'm on the same side of the table as they are, and just being able to meet my heroes. Like at San Diego Comic-Con, I was doing a show on it was the official eBay live show with Jen King, and the guy that followed me on the show was Jim Lee. And so I got to have a conversation with Jim Lee in the green room. And I'm like, my God, I'm talking to Jim Lee. I've gotten a chance to meet Todd McFarlane. I've met Marat Michaels. I've worked with Marat Michaels. I mean, these people are just incredible. Tom Lyle, another just icon, from Spider-Man in the 90s. Really got to meet him. Shannon Mayer, Gyula Nemeth, some amazing artists and writers, just creators I've been fortunate enough to be able to meet. That's really the best part. And then meeting people who are actually enjoying my work. That is an incredibly humbling experience, because when people come up and they tell me like, wow, I really loved your book, it really resonated with me. Prometheus In Chains is the one I get most of that with, because it's about a man dealing with PTSD. It's a play on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where Victor Elizabeth has passed away and he's now obsessed with bringing her back to life. So it's his grief driving her rather than his arrogance. And so, veterans, especially when they come up to me and they say, I'm suffering from PTSD and this book really helped me to realize it. That's a humbling experience. So it's really just the impact that comic books have made on my life, and then the impact that my books can potentially make on other people's lives. That's probably the absolute best experience of all this.
Rock on, man. Rock on. Appreciate you sharing that with us. And once again, I didn't get a chance to say this moments ago, but I do. My heart goes out to you. Sorry for the loss of the love of your life. That is just.
Thank you.
That's got to be a tough one.
It was hard. I mean, it was hell, and lot of therapy and a lot of channeling that through my writing. Writing has been a great way to. It's therapy for me. It's a great way to work through it. And I'm a stronger person now because I reached out for help and because I put my mind to it and I focused on healing. It's a journey. It's a daily. Sometimes it's day by day. Sometimes it's minute by minute. If people out there if anybody happens to be suffering from PTSD or other mental health issues, just realize you're not alone. If you reach out, somebody will reach back. I promise.
Agreed. Send you virtual high fives. With that, yes. If you ask for help, it's a sign of strength. It's not a weakness. Just to point that out. So there you go. By the way, Charlie chimes in. She says, "Hey guys, here's where you can follow all the craziness that goes on in my life on social media. So Instagram Charlie Ray for personal and cosplay, and then at IG Charlie Ray _author for book and signing events because she's a writer."
Nice.
Yeah, you may want to get in touch with her.
Yeah, definitely going to give her a follow. I just want to see the Mandalorian Greyjoy.
Yeah, she's got stories about that one and some other cosplays for days.
I bet.
So feel free to follow her. Charlie, thank you for dropping your links or your social media handles, respectively. We appreciate that. Wonderful stuff, Charlie. You're awesome. Stay that way for me, will you? With the flip side of the fence, or other side of the fence here, biggest challenges about being a comic book writer. What do you think?
Oh, wow. That's probably the biggest challenge is keeping the discipline to put myself in a position to write. I keep office hours. I make sure that I'm in my office 9 a.m. every morning. I write until about noon. Then I take a lunch break, and then I come back in the afternoon about 1:30 until usually 5 or 6. But having that discipline, putting myself in a position to create makes me creative. But it's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to say, yeah, you know what? I can play Baldur's Gate for 10 more minutes, and then it's an hour, and then it's 5 hours. And you're like, oh shit, I forgot to write anything today. So there, life kind of likes to tempt you away. But, the biggest challenge is keeping that discipline. Everything else, there's some daunting hills to climb, but those things, those external things, they can work themselves out. It's the internal, which is the biggest struggle. And, I've always believed if you're going to be a pro at anything, you have to act like a professional. You treat it like a job. And if you don't, then you're a hobbyist, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. But you just have the self-awareness to know who you are, and what you want to be.
Wow. That was a great TED talk. Holy cow.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for free coffee and donuts on your way out. Pastries, I think is what they're called. By the way, what you just said, Charlie says, that is disciplined. Kudos.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie.
Giving you mad props there, man. My goodness. So, all right, I got to ask you this question then. Even though this season has come to a close and we're now in the midst of what is known as the holiday season, even though there are spooky movies that come out during this time, in the words of Ghostface, what's your favorite scary movie?
Ooh, see, that's a hard one, man. Everybody asks me that. It's like, so the slasher genre is probably my favorite genre. That golden age of horror for me happened from the late 70s through like the mid 80s, before the slashers got all cheeseball. So probably the Halloween 1 and 2. I consider them one movie and one beautiful opus of a horror film. That those two have to be probably my Mount Rushmore favorites. Bram Stoker's Dracula, the 92 film, had such a profound impact on me. It's probably the most influential horror movie. And then Helter Skelter, which, the Charlie Manson movie from the 70s, that's the one that still to this day scares the hell out of me.
Boy, more creepy images that are going to keep myself, and I up tonight. So, just out of curiosity, though, a quick sidebar here. What did you think of Dracula's presentation in the indie film Blade Trinity?
Next question, please. Next question, please.
All right, no problem. We'll just pretend.
No, I don't hate Blade Trinity as much as a lot of people do, because I'm the guy. I would be either the best or worst film critic ever. Because when I go into a movie, no matter how bad it is, I want to find something to like about the film, and I will focus on the thing I like and completely ignore the things that I hate. So, in Blade Trinity, you got Triple H and a tiny little vampire dog. That's amazing. Parker Posey, she's in her Parker Posey, most over the top Parker Posey self. Love that. Jessica Biel, she's Jessica Biel, a huge crush on her for a long time. There's good things to like about Blade Trinity, but it's Blade Trinity.
It happened.
Yeah. It was a thing. It was
Yeah.
a thing that happened.
It was a thing that happened. It happened one night, and then we moved on for the rest of our lives.
Yep.
Good Lord, we could be
You
here
should
all day.
really ask about the Blade television show. How many people have seen that?
I watched all of it.
Yep.
I did
Sticky
when it
fingers.
was originally on the air. This wasn't something that came on later in a streaming service or when Spike TV had the on-demand streaming, whatever it was.
Mhm.
I watched it when it was originally
On
airing on national
TNT.
TV, baby.
TNT, man. Yep.
I was there. I was there with what was it? With all of it. And Sticky Fingers as the new iteration of Blade. I
Yep.
thought he did a fantastic job.
Yeah. That television series, I thought it should have at least gotten a second season.
Mhm.
It
It
was
was on a cliffhanger, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a fun watch. They took an interesting take on the vampire culture
And the lore, yeah.
Yeah, the lore. It was really nice. But it was a TNT from the early 2000s, so it's not great, but it's not awful either. And I don't know what streaming service is on now, but if you get a chance to watch it, I do recommend it.
Yeah, it's good. I actually have it was the 4 film favorites when it has the Blade film collection, but the 4th disc is the series premiere of Blade. It's called Blade House of Cathan.
Nice.
So it's the hour and a half, mini movie / pilot episode of
Yep.
the series.
Yep.
So at least I have that to go back to. If I ever want to watch a different iteration of Blade, I could be like, hey, I can watch hour and 20 minutes of this. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think I've got the box set, the DVD box set somewhere. Of course, I think the box set's like two discs or something, but it's somewhere in my collection.
Oh, you do have it. Okay.
Yeah, I think I do. If it didn't disappear in the move.
Okay.
Yeah, I've still got boxes. I moved 6 years ago, and I have boxes I still haven't opened. So.
Oh boy, your to-do list just grew by this much.
I've been too busy writing.
Yeah, you've been cranking out one story after another that's winning all the awards, and it's got the internet abuzz with talking. So
I'm very fortunate with that. Yeah.
As well as you should be. And what is fortunate is this episode of And I Quote with the incredible person known as Rich Davis. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, by all means, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're joining this live or what is known as the replay, we thank you for being with us. I'm going to bring something up here for just a moment. So you mentioned Cult of Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Rise of Dracula. What exactly, how did this come about, and what is the elevator pitch?
So Cult of Dracula was you take Bram Stoker's Dracula and reimagine it inside of a Manson family inspired cult. And that's where everything begins. We meet this cult. We find out that they are sworn to an ancient blood goddess. And as we go through their stories, we discover that this ancient blood goddess is Dracula. Dracula is a title, not a name. There have been hundreds of Dracula throughout a bloodline that goes all the way back to Lilith in the Garden of Eden. So we start pulling in all these different vampire myths from around the world, all these scary, evil nursery rhyme characters. And so when we go from Cult of Dracula to Rise of Dracula, that cult has become a movement. And that movement, it takes over Washington, D.C. Literally, the book opens with the genocide of Washington, D.C. Supreme Court justices on spikes. Congress is slaughtered in the aisles. Dracula and her followers have taken over with a fervent zealotry, and they are convinced that they're going to save the world by reducing humanity to a manageable population. We may have heard that before in human history, some dark places that we don't want to ignore. And so, Rise was that second volume. It's very, it's political without making any political judgments. I have received hate mail from people on both the extreme left and the extreme right, because there is a way to read Rise of Dracula as a hardcore leftist manifesto. And there is a way to read Rise of Dracula as your most hardcore MAGA, in your face, right wing perspective. Both of them are correct. Both of them are wrong. I don't handhold with my audience. I trust that they are intelligent people and can interpret the themes and keep up with what's going on without me giving them a morality lesson. I show them what is, they get to decide why. So Rise is probably right as of today, it may be my most complex story, with a lot of layers, and intrigue going on in that one.
My goodness. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I mean, listen, you write a story, you let the readers enjoy the story for what it is. If they enjoy it, that's great. If they don't, hey, to each their own, as we say.
Exactly.
Which is the best way to describe any story. It's like, hey, just read it. And if you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, hey, that's fine too. Because there's plenty of other reading materials in this crazy mixed world that we're living in.
Absolutely. And once the artist creates a work and releases it to the public, it no longer belongs to the artist. It belongs to the reader to interpret it and how it speaks to them.
Mm-hmm. Which, gotcha. And Charlie goes on to say, major versatility.
I do strive for that.
And her mind just got blown with a mind is blown emoji in that same comment, by the way.
Nice.
So there you go. Charlie's mind has been
dropping bombs here.
We're dropping some crazy things here on this show and in this chat. Feel free to keep commenting as we go along. Just speaking of creepy crawly things and speaking of things that may be considered not very good behavior or cultish. Do you remember a TV series that only lasted less than a handful of seasons? Speaking of Kevin Bacon, it was called The Following with James Purefoy.
I've heard of it. I didn't watch that.
Okay, so I would strongly advise you to go back, find this on a streaming service, maybe on Hulu because it was a Fox property.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Correct me by the way, chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm saying this wrong in terms of which studio was originally distributing it. So, Kevin Bacon plays an FBI agent, and he's drawn back into service because the person that he originally arrested and put behind bars he has a cult of followers that are doing his work outside of prison. So he's commanding them, and he doesn't know why, because he's in solitary. Like, he doesn't have any contact with the outside world, but somehow, some way, these followers of James Purefoy's character are going around killing people. So they're trying to understand, how is this happening? How is he getting back on the map here, if you know what I mean, in terms of popularity? So if you want to, have a creepy crawly, good time with 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon and the great underrated actor known as James Purefoy, feel free to go back and watch The Following.
I will do that.
Yeah,
The Following. I'll check that one out. Did you watch? Speaking of Hulu, did you watch The Path on Hulu?
No, I have not. What's it about?
It's very similar. It's about a cult, and the guy from Breaking Bad, Jesse. I can't remember the actor's name. He's amazing.
Pinkman. What was his name?
Yeah. I hate this. Aaron something. Anyway, he's in it. It's a really in-depth look at the cult from the inside. Of course, you have the FBI on the outside investigating. That pressure's coming. But it's really about the cult itself. And that was a huge Aaron Paul. Thank you, Charlie. Anyway, the way they presented that cult in The Path became a huge inspiration for the way I wrote the cult in Cult of Dracula, because I wanted to give it, I wanted to focus on kind of the humanity of it more and the impact that it has on people, rather than the external, because we get to see the external, the FBI agent, that quite a bit. So I wanted to go a different perspective with it. But I do enjoy cult movies, not cult classics, movies about cults. So I will definitely check out The Following. That sounds pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And yeah, Charlie corrected us. It is indeed Aaron Paul. And she goes on to say, The Following is so underrated. It was a great series.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm adding that to my list. I'm going to find that. And I like Kevin Bacon, so.
Yep. He plays one of the co-leads in the series. So feel free to look at that as when you get an opportunity. That's where I was getting at. Gee whiz. So this I'd like to bring up here for just a moment. This one has me a bit curious.
Yes.
Prometheus in Chains, if I'm saying that right. So what
Yes.
on earth is going on here, and what's the elevator pitch? How did this come about?
So Prometheus in Chains is a play on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein set in the post-World War II atomic age. In this book, both Victor and Elizabeth Frankenstein were among the Jewish scientists who fled Nazi Germany in 1939. That's a true story, Operation Paperclip. They came to the U.S. They worked on the Manhattan Project, which took place right here where I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, just a couple miles down the road in Oak Ridge. And while working on creating the atomic bomb, Elizabeth is exposed to extreme levels of radiation. She develops terminal cancer, and her death is what drives Victor into a spiral of depression, addiction, PTSD, and an obsession with bringing her back to life. So we take a look at Victor Frankenstein rather than his arrogance that drives him to steal fire from the gods. It's his grief. And it provided me the opportunity to look at Victor from a much more human perspective. Because love a lot of the adaptations of Frankenstein, but again, they all seem to focus on Victor just being an arrogant prick. And it's hard to relate to that. It's kind of boring, especially when you see it over and over and over again. So I like it when people take unique looks at characters. And so I was able to do that with Prometheus in Chains. And I also got to work through my own PTSD. A lot of my life is reflected in Prometheus in Chains, obviously in a sensationalized way. But it's there. If you want to know what my journey was like, it's right there on the page. And with Prometheus in Chains, we do include in every issue the telephone number for the National PTSD Hotline, because there's a lot of men out there, men especially, veterans, police officers, first responders. We suffer from PTSD. And my hope is that one man reading this book about a man dealing with PTSD, written by a man dealing with PTSD, maybe instead of picking up a gun, he picks up a phone. And if that can happen one time, then it was absolutely worth every minute I spent writing that book.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And yes, there are resources out there if someone is going through some struggles. There's no question about that. And once again, we are here with the wise sage, apparently, known as Rich.
Well, if I go that far,
I don't know. Maybe he is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this story. I don't know. But unless he's masquerading as a Sith Lord, then we have problems. But if you
That's
like
right.
what you Exactly. But if you like what you see, don't forget to like and share this episode of And I Quote with Rich Davis when you get a chance. And also, if you have any questions for him, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. If you're joining this live or what is known as the replay, thank you for being with us. We do greatly appreciate it. My goodness gracious, you got stories. So that's what life is one big story. So what other pieces of advice would you offer to somebody who's aspiring to be a comic book writer or artist?
The best piece of advice I can possibly give anyone that wants to be any type of writer, screenwriter, playwright, novelist, comic book writer, doesn't matter. Finish your script. Finish your book. Joss Whedon once said that 80% of all screenplays that are started never get finished. So if you finish your script, you are automatically in the top 20% of screenplays that were ever written. That's a pretty good place to be. So you can't do anything with your story if you don't finish it. So, and you will be surprised what you can do with your story when you finish it. There are so many avenues out there to get your work published. I mean, we're in a golden age. We really don't necessarily need publishers anymore. I mean, I've had conversations with a lot of creators lately, and we're asking ourselves, why do we need to give the publisher 50% of our very meager profits? And a lot of creators are starting to say we don't. Because you can go crowdfund, you can do Patreon where people subscribe directly to your books. You can build relationships with small press printers right here in the U.S. There's no reason why. You can do webtoons. You can get your stuff out there in so many different ways, but you can't do any of that if you don't finish it. So finish what you start, see it through, and great things can happen. That's probably the best piece of advice I was ever given. And it's the best advice that I can give to anyone else, followed closely by don't be a dick. You know, that's the golden rule, really. You know, the comic industry is very large, but it's also very small, and everybody knows everybody or knows somebody who knows somebody. So when you're a jerk, it gets around. But when you're good to people, people will be good to you. I was very fortunate when I was getting started with Cult of Dracula. I had a lot of really awesome creators who gave me their time and their wisdom. They helped me when they had absolutely no idea no reason to say hi to me. They gave me their time. And they gave me their advice. So I'm very happy to pay that forward with people who now I'm in a position where weirdly people are coming to me asking me for advice and things. And I'm very happy to pay that forward. And the people that do that, in my experience, they're the ones that are super successful. And then the ones that don't, they tend to not last that long.
Yeah. Sometimes the internet can be a cruel place.
Absolutely. Unless you're Alan Moore and you're super talented and, you know, that's just your thing.
Yeah, there's that too. But very good pieces of advice. And quite frankly, our great reaction to that is simply this.
Yes! That's awesome!
Love it.
You're killing it today, man.
Thank you.
You're rocking it and shocking it, brother.
Have you seen the movie Big Fish? It's a Tim Burton movie with Ewan McGregor.
You know, the funny thing about that movie is that you bringing it up, you're the second person to bring that up in the last couple of days that we've been doing shows, because someone brought it up to us on another show, and I'm thinking, I know what it is, I know who made it, but I've never seen it.
You need to see it, especially if your relationship with your father is great, you're going to cry. If your relationship with your father is awful, you're going to cry. This is a movie about dads and their sons. And, Ewan McGregor's dad, he had lived this big, fantastical life. And he thought, Ewan McGregor goes into it thinking he was lying. He's making up all these stories because his dad was never home. And all he knew about his father was from these stories. But then when his dad passes away, all of these people that he had touched throughout his life, they come to his funeral, and you see how, yes, he was telling fish tales, exaggerating the stories, but they were based in reality, and he really did make this impact. So the reason I bring that up is when I die, if I can have had an impact like that, if that's what my funeral looks like, I will know I have lived a good life.
I promised myself I wouldn't cry on this show. No, I'm kidding. But not that there's anything wrong with crying, by the way. If people share their emotions, it's not a bad thing. It's not a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean you're a horrible person. It just means you have emotions, and that's fine, because we're human, for Pete's sake. Unless you're masquerading as a Cylon from Battlestar Galactica, or you're masquerading as a Terminator, living metal tissue of a mental exoskeleton. So,
by your command.
Yeah, one of those things, which I've seen my fair share of Terminator movies. My favorite is actually the original, The Terminator from 84, of course, which turns the big 4-0 next year, by the way. So we're going to do a 40th anniversary watch along for that. So
wow,
feel free to tune in for that, Rich. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Wow, that's 40 years old
next year. Yeah,
next year. And didn't Nightmare Before Christmas either turn 25 or 30 this year?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did.
That blows my mind. That seems like it just came out yesterday.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
we've actually had this discussion. I think it was on Cosplay Cafe where they brought up the movie Big Fish, because, like I said, you're the second person who's brought it up in the last few days. I think Dave or somebody on Cosplay Cafe brought it up. But anyway, so yeah, Terminator turns 40. Neverending Story turns 40. You have I think the original Nightmare on Elm Street turns 40 next year as well.
I was out in 84, so
yeah.
Good God, that's 40 years.
Nightmare on Elm Street, baby.
God, wow, 84 was a hell of a year for movies.
You also had, let's think about this for a minute. 84 also had a whole bunch of other stuff that's not coming to my mind. I apologize. But you have in 1989, you had the summer of sequels with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You had Back to the Future Part 2. You had 89's Batman, which all those movies turned 35 next year, Rich. Speaking of father and son, great movies that focus on a father and son relationship. Now, granted, I haven't seen Big Fish, so I can't comment or speculate. But what I can say is that one of the all-time greatest movies, and it's in my top 10 list once we do that episode, Field of Dreams turns 35
Wow.
next year.
That was an awesome movie, especially growing up. I was a baseball player. I played all the way into college. I thought when I was a kid I was going to play professional baseball for the Atlanta Braves. I picked out the house I was going to buy for my mom. Yeah, that's what I thought, man. And I was very fortunate. I got to play for a long time, and then I got to a point where I just looked out and I said, I just don't belong here anymore. I said, I'm taking up a roster spot that I don't deserve. And I had to walk away from it. But I still love baseball to this day, and Field of Dreams. Oh my God. That's such a good movie.
Of course it is. It's got Costner, James Earl Jones, some other Frank Whaley, who was
Ray Liotta.
Rest in peace, Ray Liotta. Yeah.
Yep.
We lost him not too long ago, by the way.
That hurt. I loved Ray Liotta, one of my favorite actors. He's brilliant.
Yeah,
of course, Goodfellas.
I still have to sit down and watch. As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a gangster. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Goodfellas.
You've never seen Goodfellas?
Never, no.
Oh my God, you got to see Goodfellas. That's a classic.
I got to go back and see it, brother.
It's right there with The Godfather Part 2 as epic mob movies. And Scarface, love that.
I've seen Scarface, so you can check that one off the list. I've seen the original Godfather. I just haven't seen Godfather Part 2.
Yeah, Part 2, it's very difficult for me to choose between the two, which is my favorite. I love them for different reasons. They're brilliant. The Godfather Part 3, it's not great, but the recent one they did that was more, I guess, the director's cut.
Yes.
It made the movie a lot better. It was a lot longer, but it was a lot better. Still not great. Still doesn't come anywhere near to the first two, but it saves the reputation of that film.
I haven't seen Godfather 3, but the line that we always use here in pop culture, and some people, you may agree or disagree with me on this, and that's completely fine, because you know what they say, to each their own. I use this line sometimes just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. So, when you think that you're done, it's with you and your collectibles. When you think you're done, they pull you back in.
Right back in.
When I think that I'm done buying up Star Wars stuff, they pull me back in.
They come out with they change the color on the X-Wing or something.
Yeah,
or Luke gets a stripe on his helmet.
Yeah.
And you're like, I have to have it.
I have to have it. Like, people have been saying this on Instagram for a good while now. Like, every time a new statue, like a hot toy or a bust comes out, they're like, I have to get it. Like, I have to get it. And I'm like, where are you getting all this money? Because I don't even have a duffel bag full of cash. Where's the money?
Reminds me of, did you see the Simpsons episode, the Lisa Lionheart episode? It's like the spoof on Barbie.
No.
So Lisa makes this new toy meant to inspire women,
yes.
And it's doing great. It's a great message here. It's really awesome. It's better than the Barbie movie. And toward the end, right when her toy is launching, the big bad corporation, they're like, oh my God, what do we do? We're going to lose our empire. So they put out a new Malibu Stacy with a new hat. And all the little girls that were going to get Lisa Lionheart were like, oh my God, she's got a new hat. And they go over and buy all the, it's a great episode. So when you said that, it popped right in my head. They pulled you right back in.
Oh boy. Talk about marketing, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's all these kinds of variants of these characters that we've known for so long, because how many Funko Pops are there of Luke Skywalker? Like 35 of those things.
At least. They're probably even more.
It's probably 40.
Yep. I don't own a single Funko Pop.
I have a few, but I don't have I used to have a lot when I first started collecting, and then I realized these are taking up too much space and I don't really do anything with them, so it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
So I just went ahead and, respectively, I sold them, traded them in, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But I will say that having a Funko Pop to get signed at a convention can be cool, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people that love them, and I'm of the mind, you do you. I don't have to like what you do. You don't have to like what I do. We live in a world where to each their own. And so I love the passion of people who collect or love anything. It's be passionate about something. I mean, heck, you want to collect, peppermint wrappers. That's cool if you're passionate about it. Stamp collecting, whatever. It's not my thing, but I love that you love it. And that's the way I am. I love the things I love, and if other people don't like them, then it's fine.
That's fair. That's completely fair. What also is fair is this incredible episode that you're witnessing in history, known as, and I quote, with Rich Davis. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And hey, if you collect something, let us know what you like collecting the most.
Yeah.
And we can compare
Especially if
notes.
it's weird.
Yeah. But Rich and I can sit down and compare notes for sure. When it comes to collecting, because I got tons of different like perfect examples. So real quick, because I do want to address this next question with you here.
Okay.
So when it comes to Funko Pops, the two that I got signed in person, because some of them I got through, other means, which is fine, but it's better when you actually get it in person. It's a much better feeling that way.
Absolutely.
So the two that I've gotten signed are from Kevin Nash, my favorite wrestler growing up as a kid. I had him sign my Super Shredder from Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. Yes, he was the guy in the suit.
Yep.
That was Kevin Nash before he was a wrestler. He was a stand-in or a physical presence on screen, which in this case is Super Shredder. So I had him sign that. He didn't mind it. He was completely cool with it. He had fun with it. And then the second person I met, and by the way, if you ever get a chance to meet this person, I'm talking about this one. If you ever get a chance to meet Ashley Eckstein, who's the voice actress of Ahsoka Tano in Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, etc., please go up and meet her because she's one of the nicest human beings on God's green earth. I'm not going to lie. She loves meeting the people. She loves meeting the fans. She likes hearing your stories of how Star Wars got you through the good times and the bad. It doesn't matter because we all have stories, just like Star Wars. And she signed my Funko Pop. She's like, "Do you want me to sign this in blue since I signed your print that way?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, blue's my favorite color. Right, let's just keep the blue train rolling, girl."
Nice. Don't you love that when they, when they take a personal interest, and that's great.
Yeah,
I love that.
She's wonderful, and she gives hugs, free hugs, by the way, to all her fans. So I got that on my shelf here, which, by the way, a lot of these pictures are on our social media, so feel free to check those out on Instagram if you want to see some of the stuff that we have in our sets. But yeah, so there's a little quick True Hollywood story for you when it comes to Comic-Con. But here's something I do want to toss over to you for just a moment. Do you have any other special memories from being at conventions or other events, whether you are there as a vendor or there as an attendee?
Yeah, as an attendee at Dragon Con, I want to say this was when Battlestar Galactica, the sci-fi series, was at its apex. I was there. I was actually working. I worked in radio as a news reporter, so I was actually there covering Dragon Con, and I had the opportunity to thank you. I had the opportunity to meet Edward James Olmos, and I walked up to him and I just froze, and I looked at him and I said, "I literally talk for a living, and I have no idea what I want to say to you." And he stood up from his table. He put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "You're doing fine." And I was like, Admiral Adama said, "I'm doing fine. Let's do this interview." And I was, boom, gone right there. He put me at such ease. I mean, it was amazing. I will never, ever, ever forget that moment.
So say we all.
So say we all.
Yeah. It's got a long history, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it for decades. I mean, he did everything from the Blade Runner movie. He did Blade Runner. He was Castillo on Miami Vice when Miami Vice was a thing.
Yep.
And their influence of that show is still evident.
Yeah.
And
fantastic.
Yeah, had some of the best music in the world on that show.
Yep. And he's on he did a turn on Mayans on FX, the sequel to Sons of Anarchy.
Yep.
And man, was he good in that. And it was great to see him in such a vastly different role than I'm accustomed to seeing him in. It was, man, he's just a brilliant actor. He really, really is.
Yeah. And I think he enjoys meeting the fans, if I'm not mistaken. So
he, in my experience, he certainly did.
Okay. If anyone else has a different story, you can let us know in the comments. But Edward James Olmos, I was introduced to him professionally through the indie film that made Jennifer Lopez a household name, Selena.
Oh,
when Edward James Olmos plays the dad. He plays the dad, the patriarch in that movie.
Wow, I forgot about that. He did, yeah.
That was him.
That's crazy. I love Selena, man. What a story. What a story.
It's a great story, but yet a tragic story at the same time. And the other thing is, household name J-Lo became.
Yep.
As you watch that movie, that's Selena. Like, that's literally, people were saying after the movie and before the movie had released in theater, because the marketing campaign, was going on at the time. And they were saying how much she looks like the actual Selena that tragically passed away just a few years prior to the movie coming out. So, and I look at the movie and I'm thinking, yeah, She nailed it. I mean, it's J-Lo. It's Jenny from the Block. She just. And by the way, J-Lo, you haven't really aged all that much. So well done.
No.
You're drinking the immortality or the tiger blood there.
I think so. She's a vampire. Maybe in my world, she's Dracula.
Is she Dracula in your world? Okay.
Maybe
She could be. Is she going to be? Is she going to be featured on the next cover? I mean,
you know what? I will reach out to her agent and listen to him laugh at me.
Yeah, probably. You know what they say, right? You only miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
You don't take. Yep.
You gotta take a shot, my man. By the way, David Mamina from Mamina Books and Games says, "Greetings, good interview, good sirs." Rich, what was your thought of Dracula's portrayal in Netflix's Castlevania?
Wow, that's period. Wow, loved Castlevania. It was Castlevania was my first introduction to anime. Prior to this, I thought anime was all, Pokemon and One Piece and all the, the cheesy little kids in their mouth, just giant over their heads, just not my thing. And so someone told me to read Castlevania. I know it's not technically an anime because it's American made, whatever, but it was my first introduction. And the way they presented Dracula as such a tragic character, he's so complex and carrying around so much emotion, and to be able to portray that in an anime, it was incredible. I loved the way they presented Alucard. Simon Belmont was amazing in that. Really enjoyed when they introduced Carmilla. Carmilla was, and when I saw her, I was like, oh wow, they really dug deep into Dracula mythology, because people think that Vlad Tepes was who inspired Stoker to write Dracula. It wasn't. It was actually Carmilla, who's a figure in a Irish short story. A lot of the things that we now associate with Dracula, the shape shifting, turning into fog, being able to mesmerize people, that all came from Carmilla. So when they introduced Carmilla in Castlevania, it absolutely blew my mind, and I was like, this is a damn good series.
I think you and David just became friends. So feel free to follow him. He's an indie writer as well. He writes dark fantasy. He writes dark fantasy stuff. His new book is out right now called Death or Valentis. So
right on.
Yeah.
Where can I find it, David? I want to check that out. I love reading dark fantasy.
David, drop your links in the comments, or send them over to Rich's way when you get a chance, so he can follow you and check out your books and all the incredible things that you're doing, because David's a cool cat, if you didn't already know that. Let's see here. David says, definitely, I will take care of that for you guys. Thanks, David. Appreciate it, man. Keep it up, man. So I want to let you know that this is And I Quote with Rich Davis, and don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. If you're joining us live for what is known as a replay, we thank you for being here, and we hope you're enjoying this great piece of material, also known as content. And I want to let you know, Rich, this is a fun fact for you. This episode and every episode of And I Quote is indeed powered by Poddex. Now, Poddex are unique interview questions as well as episode starting prompts in the palm of your very own hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddex.com. It's that simple. Use that promo code RYAN10, that's RYAN10, for 10% off your first order. So check out our good friends over there at Poddex. So, Rich, Poddex wants to know, what is one surefire way to grab your attention?
Ooh, that's wow. That's a good, maybe ask me a question I haven't heard before. That's a way to grab my attention. Actually tell me a good personal story. That sucks me in, like if it's an individual, if it's a movie, just make it about vampires. And I'll watch it. I mean, my God, I watched Vampireland. So anything with a vampire, I will watch. And by the way, Vampireland is a god awful movie, but a huge inspiration in my life, because this movie got made and it got sold, and people like me paid $9.99 to download it and stream it on video on demand. And I'm like, you know what? This is an example of finish your story and good things will happen, because this is, I want to meet the filmmaker behind Vampireland one day, because I want to ask him if he was doing this kind of Black Christmas style, tongue in cheek, unintentionally funny, or what his intentions were, because you know, I hated the movie, but to this day, I mean, I'm 15 years after watching it, and I cannot forget it. So, you know what? That's a great way to grab my attention. Talk to me about Vampire Land. I want to meet the other 5 people who watched it.
There you go. That'll give someone a run for their money. David Mamina says, "Thanks, Rich. I'm going to follow you as well."
Thank you, my friend.
Indie supports indie, my friend. That's what we do.
Absolutely. That's the best part about this community.
That's one of the things I've learned as a podcaster is that indie supports indie. When you support other people, they support you. It's painful. It goes hand in hand, my friend.
Absolutely. It's a great community.
Yeah, it happens all the time. By the way, underrated vampire movie, Daybreakers.
Daybreakers, yeah. That's what's his? I used to be married to Uma Thurman.
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke, yeah. Yeah, that was a good movie. I thought they could have explored some of the things a little bit better. They could have made it less soapy and more about the dark things they were doing with humans in the draining their blood in incubators or whatever, kind of Matrix style. But yeah, Daybreakers, really good movie.
Just thought I'd bring that up because I saw it in the theater and I thought it was pretty good. Yes, there were a few things I did have issues with.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still a good film. If you want to check it out, turn the brain off, enjoy the film for what it is, feel free to do so. It's got Ethan Hawke, Sam Neill, for Pete's sake.
Yep.
It's also got Willem Dafoe. We're the folks with the crossbows.
Yep.
Which is his key line in the trailer, if you remember what I'm saying. So, way to go, Willem Dafoe. You can play a creepy green goblin 1 minute, and then you're a vampire hunter the next. So, go figure. And
I'm thinking of one, Ultraviolet. Yeah, with Mila Jovovich. I went into. I had not seen a single preview about it. I had no idea what.
Oh, so you went in cold. Okay.
Oh, totally cold. Had no idea what it was. I left the movie. I had no idea what it was.
Yeah. Was anyone else confused by how everything is so purpley and violet? Everything is literally ultraviolet, like ultra CGI in that movie.
And then all of a sudden they're vampires, and I'm like, what? I'm lost in this movie, but it was somehow kind of fun.
And Mila Jovovich is a very beautiful woman, so you can't argue with that. What did you think of her as Alice in the Resident Evil movies?
Love it. Those Resident Evil movies are very guilty pleasure movies for me. Yep. They're like the Fast and the Furious films. They're my guilty pleasures. I love them as much as I enjoy the Netflix. I guess they're animated. They're the computer animated ones. As much as I enjoy them, I think they're better. But I enjoy the Mila Jovovich Resident Evil so much more. They're just fun. I think they're what a video game movie should be. They don't pretend to take themselves seriously at all, and they're just fun.
Boy, that opinion is going to cause a stir in the comments section. So, what? Gosh almighty, what have we dug ourselves into?
Well, I don't know.
What did you think of the reboot, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City? What'd you think of it?
Actually, I haven't seen that one yet, so I look forward to seeing it.
Okay, feel free to look it up. It's got Robbie Amell from the CW Arrowverse as one of the lead actors in that. I think there's an actress in there who's done some stuff on the CW. I forget her name, and I sincerely apologize that her name's not coming to me right now. But those are two of the lead actors in the movie, and that kind of grabbed me. I'm like, oh, Robbie Amell's in this. That's cool. I like him. He's Stephen Amell's cousin. He's a good actor, respectively.
I like Stephen Amell, too. He's really good.
I met him once. It was through a photo op, though, so it was like, quick, get out. But he was cool. And he was wearing a Terminator 2 t-shirt that day.
Nice.
So I was like,
you gotta love anybody wearing a T2 t-shirt, man.
Hey, you're a Terminator fan.
Yep.
I said, Steve, it's good to meet you, man. Nice shirt. You look good. And then
did you see him in Heels? I think it was on Stars.
The wrestling show?
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing about that. So my friend and I, by the way, Dave Adams, I'm shouting you out, brother. So Dave and I sat down and we watched the pilot one night. And I got to be honest with you, I'm thinking to myself, Stephen Amell this is going all out, man. I respect that. So unfortunately, I never got a chance to see the rest of it, but he and I did a review or a behind the scenes type thing where we were watching the pilot, and I thought, oh, Heels is good. I wish I could watch more of it, and then I never got around to it.
Yeah, so. It made me remember how much I loved wrestling as a kid.
Oh, I grew up watching wrestling as a kid too. So
I enjoy it. I was watching it when it was wrestling. NWO, baby.
I was watching the NWO Wolfpack days, man. Yep. I was watching pro wrestling from 98 all the way to 2006.
Nice. Heck
so I had a good 8-year run there with WCW and WWF, also known as WWE.
now.
So yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But the Attitude
Monday
Era,
Night Wars, man.
but the Attitude Era was pretty sweet, man.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I loved wrestling, and I'd kind of gotten away from it for a long time. And then I watched
Yep.
Heels, and I'm like, man, I just loved this. I hope, it's been canceled on Stars, but they're looking for a new network for a season 3.
Sure.
And I hope they get it, because man, season 2 ended on such a cliffhanger, and
Ooh.
it was so well played by Stephen Amell, and the guy played Bjorn in Vikings. Got his name slipping my mind. But anyway, it's brilliant. It's brilliantly done, and such an emotional ending. So I hope they do get a season 3 somewhere.
Oh, that'd be interesting to see. Stephen Amell did announce that Code 8 Part 2 is going to drop on Netflix next year with him and his cousin Robbie in it. So
Nice.
That's good, because I think Code 8 is a really good futuristic, what if there were really mutants walking on this planet kind of movie. So, or I thought it was just a one-off, but apparently they had plans for multiple, installments, but it just didn't get the green light until now. Plus, with the strikes and COVID and everything delaying everything for the last 5 years, it's been very tough to get things off the ground.
Yeah.
But Code 8 Part 2, as it's being called, the poster came out. So if you want to go on Google, you can find it, and it's going to drop on Netflix next year. So there's that. Wow, David coming in hot with a question. He says, have you watched the Dark Side of the Ring documentary series? And if so, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I enjoy those, actually. They're really good. The Canadian, God, what, I am just dying on
It's
names.
on Vice, but it's a documentary series.
Yeah, it's the one about the Canadian wrestler who was killed by the mob. I didn't know that story. And Dino, was it Dino Bravo?
It might have been, but I can't remember correctly.
Yeah. Anyway, I love Dark Side of the Ring. And of course you get the is you get the different sides. So the Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, Miss Elizabeth story. Man, that was good. I got to see a lot of the things that of course you just didn't know them about wrestling, and I do love documentaries anyway. So those are really I enjoyed them. A lot of very informative.
Yeah, I do. By the way, David, just to piggyback on what you were saying, I do like the Dark Side of the Ring as well, because man, wrestling has a lot of skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's a dark business.
A lot of skeletons, lots of them, and
Yep.
some of it's tragic, some of it is educational, and some of it is disturbing. So depends on who you ask. But we've had episodes dealing with the Montreal situation between Brett and Sean. We had an episode dealing with the situation that tragically happened with Chris Benoit and his family.
Yeah.
You had the situation that broke down between Owen Hart with him falling from the scaffold in Over the Edge in 1999, and the lawsuit that was being brought up against Vince and the company.
Yep.
So, yeah, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, if you miss any episodes, not all the time, but most of the time, they do post the episodes on the YouTube channel for Vice, which is where it originally airs, of Dark Side of the Ring. So feel free to check that out on YouTube.
Is it still going?
Yeah, it's still going. Chris Jericho, I think Chris Jericho is still heavily involved. So
okay,
I think he's the EP. So check it out on YouTube. And then also, I believe the streaming service known as Tubi, where you can stream a lot, which is a free streaming service, by the way. Tubi has it by season, so you can just click on which season you want to watch and click through the episodes.
Nice.
So go on Tubi when you're done watching this incredible episode of And I Quote, and then you can watch some documentaries featuring the Dark Side of the Ring. So
yeah, I think I've maybe seen through season 3 because I think they're on Hulu. I think they're on Hulu. But yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, I want to watch more.
Feel free to go back and stream it for free on YouTube or on the Vice YouTube channel, remember? And then the other one is Tubi. So
okay, right on.
There you go. By the way, real quick, favorite wrestler?
Oh man, I'm always and will forever be a Triple H fan.
The Game.
Absolutely. God, I love Triple H. I don't know. I just hit at the very right time in that Attitude Era with him. I liked him way more than Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, which they're great. Don't get me wrong. They're fantastic. It's just, I was a Triple H guy, man. Every time that music just hit, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So he just, I don't know. And I read his book too. And he just loved wrestling so much, and loves. I mean, he's still alive.
Yeah.
Still working. So yeah, I'm a Triple H guy.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. I respect that. I didn't become a Triple H fan until he came back from the quad injury in 2001,
Yeah.
2002,
Yeah.
because he had it in 2001. He was out the rest of the year, recovered, went to therapy, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Then he comes back to Madison Square Garden, the first Raw of January 2002. I'll never forget it. Music hits, all 20,000 people, Madison Square Garden, losing their minds, saying thank you, Triple H, like welcome back. It's a whole new game. Triple H, the cerebral assassin, which is one of his nicknames, by the way.
Yep.
Carry the sledgehammer, the whole, like, people were going nuts
Yep.
when he came back, and he was a heel before he had to go on the injury list, and all of a sudden people were like loving him at that point, and then he became the babyface of the company. So
Yep. And then turn to the dark side again.
yeah, because because he enjoys being the heel.
He's a better heel. He's a better heel than a babyface. I mean, he really is. He's just a good heel. And I've always liked the technical wrestlers. Like I like Bret the Hitman Hart. I like Ric Flair back in the day. Great.
Nature Boy.
Yes.
Nature Boy. Yeah. Speaking of North Carolina natives, eats, sleeps, and breathes North Carolina. So.
He does, man. Right there in Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah. Just by the way, for anyone wondering, just look up Ric Flair promos on YouTube, and you're gonna laugh yourself silly. They're incredible, over the top, crazy promos. The guy was hopped up on whatever. But,
oh God, yeah. I don't even want to know what he was on.
No, he's done some things in his career, but I got to tell you, the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling deal, whole thing, Rich, it's energy, man. You feel it.
Sir.
It's palpable.
We're gonna be friends. When this is over, we're gonna be friends. We'll hang out and watch wrestling and cult movies. And
we probably are. We're probably gonna be doing it later tonight when I get off stage and I do some stuff behind the scenes, and then I got to finish up a few things around the house. You and I are probably just gonna sit down and just binge watch whatever.
I'm down. We got some Dark Side of the Ring episodes I haven't seen.
That's true, and they're available on YouTube as well as Tubi, which either one.
Yep. And you haven't seen Vampire Land, so we got things to share with each other.
This is gonna make you feel sad for me, but I've never seen Interview with the Vampire.
Really?
Never.
Wow. Is there a reason or just?
No, I never got to it.
Okay. It's it's not good. I understand,
there's some haters out there.
Yeah. But I will say it is.
Never seen it.
It had a huge impact on me when I watched it, and I learned it helped me have a different understanding about what vampires could be. And yes, I know it kind of led to the Twilight thing, but Twilight was a thing that happened. People love it. It's not as terrible as your commenters are going to say it is, but it's if you don't like it, that's okay, because it wasn't made for you. Twilight was made for a specific demographic at a specific time. And I think that's what a lot of nerds, sometimes we don't understand that we're nerds because we love things that other people don't. And so it really it irks me when nerds attack things that other people love just because they don't love them. I mean, that's kind of like anti-nerd, because then you're becoming the bully that you had to kind of shy away from when you're playing D&D in your mom's basement on Friday night instead of going to the football game. It's just I wish. I really wish, that the culture sometimes wouldn't be as negative towards certain things, because there are people out there that really, really love Twilight. I'm not one of them. I've watched them. My vampires don't sparkle because disco balls sparkle, vampires burn. But for the people that love them, they love them.
Yeah. I saw the first Twilight in theaters, and that was enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched 1 and 2, and I read the first book.
Is it New Moon is the second one?
That sounds right, because isn't that where that's where we meet Jacob the werewolf, right?
Is it New Moon? I think it is New Moon. I don't know. I might be wrong.
Yeah,
but hey,
I think you're right.
Too many subtitles to keep up with.
Yeah,
but fair enough.
I didn't really care about those movies, so I'm not memorizing titles or anything.
Fine. I saw the first one, and that was enough. Speaking of something that's not related to vampires, Poddex wants to know, when you're feeling sick or under the weather, what makes you feel better?
I will binge watch something, usually Futurama, to be honest with you. Just something that I've seen a billion times before, And because I'm a big baby when I'm sick. I confess, when I'm sick, I want to go into my room and turn it into a dark cave and stay under the covers, and and I act like I'm dying. I'm a little dramatic when I'm sick. So lock me away in my room and let me watch Futurama. I'll come out in 2 days and I'll be fine.
Sounds about right. That's fair. That's completely fair. I completely understand. So Poddex wants to know, would you choose a shorter life and be super rich, or a longer life, somewhat poor?
I'd be rich.
Then you and I can do that episode of MTV Cribs we were talking so much about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I would. Yeah, I'd be rich.
Yeah, where's the duffel bag full of cash, guys? Send it over to
drop
me.
it right now.
Drop it right over here at my address here in the South, and then you can go up north and give one to Rich too, because he deserves it just as much as anyone else. Because Rich and I just became friends. So
that's right. BFF, baby.
I think it's slowly becoming a bromance back here on antiquote.com.
I better get my little, half of the BFF charm, in the mail in a couple of days. Because I just sent you yours. I ordered it on Amazon while we're talking.
You did? Okay, great.
Yeah, it's coming there. I don't even know where you live, but it's going.
Yeah, I got to go on Amazon and get the other half of that and then send it over to you in your neck of the woods, respectively, I might add. So, good Lord. Oh, man, we're digging ourselves a deeper hole with the audience, but I love it anyway. Feel free, by the way, this is and I quote with Rich Davis. Feel free to drop us a question or a comment in the chat. And if you're joining us live on the replay, we thank you for being here. And do not forget to like and share this with everyone you know, because I think they're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode. We guarantee it. So there's a free plug. What instantly makes you not like another person?
Poor manners. If you're rude to your server or your bartender, I know you're a dick.
There you go.
No, treat your server. Anybody who's handling your food, treat them nicely because they're handling your food. But it's like the way you treat your server and your bartender is probably the way you treat your mom. And if you treat your mom poorly, then you're not a good person.
Fair point. So basically, don't turn out to be like Mr. Pink, aka Steve Buscemi in Reservoir Dogs.
Just tip, damn it.
Like, I don't believe it because society says I have to. I mean, if they do it right, I'll give them. But if they really put forth the effort, I'll give them some extra. But I mean, that's simple automatically. It's for the birds. Sorry, man. That's my favorite scene in that whole movie.
And Reservoir Dogs, great movie, man. I love Tarantino.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene in the whole movie is the tipping scene.
Yep. Brilliant. I love, and you can't, the ear scene, you can't beat that. That's a great, disturbing scene. I bet everybody out there is hearing that song right now, stuck in the middle with you.
Anyone else hearing that? By the way, fun fact for you, Pulp Fiction turns 30 next year.
Oh, God.
I know. We're getting
killing me here, man.
We're getting so young for this business. I'm telling you.
I know.
So young. I got to be honest with you. My friends and I were comparing notes, and I'm thinking to myself, we're gonna have way too many anniversary watch-alongs next season on Nerd Culture Channel. Because there's Speed turns 30, and that's one of the best action movies ever made with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. I'm like, yeah. If we don't do one for Speed, we're doing this channel a disservice. I remember that movie. It was called The Net with that girl from the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a line from Frank Costanza from Seinfeld for you. There you go. That's my favorite sitcom, believe it or not.
Seinfeld.
It's my favorite because it's about nothing.
I can't stand it.
Really?
I understand why it's great.
It's got a huge following, man.
Yes, and it's like Jordan Peele's movies. I understand. I have a film degree. I understand that these are damned near perfect films from a filmmaking standpoint. I know why critics are in love with his movies. They just don't click with me, and I just can't stand them. I don't know why. And it's same thing with Seinfeld. Maybe the Soup Nazi episode. Maybe I like that one. That's kind of fun. But otherwise, it's just not my bag, man.
You may have dropped just a few little friendship points may have dropped here on the scale. But listen,
hey, maybe you can change my mind because that's what friends do.
Maybe there's a possibility of that, or also we can just agree to disagree, and that's fine because people do it with me all the time. People do it here on this show and any other show on the podcast, Nerd Culture Channel for that matter. So, hey, you do you. We'll leave it at that. So Poddex wants to know the following. What is the best thing to happen to you this year of 2023?
2023, I got to be a guest as a professional. I got to attend San Diego Comic-Con, and that didn't hit me until I was on the escalator going down to the con floor. And I mean, it blew my mind. Like, I got off the escalator and I stopped and I was like, my God, I am at San Diego Comic-Con as a professional. I am here as a guest. And it just floored me. And it was the coolest experience, the greatest feeling. It was just awesome.
San Diego Comic-Con, also known as the WrestleMania, the World Series of Comic-Cons.
Yes, sir.
That's the WrestleMania. That's the World Series, the Stanley Cup, the Final Four of basketball.
It's everything.
That's the College World Series rolled into one, isn't it?
Yep. And this year it was nice because it was all about the comics, because, the strikes were going on. So there weren't any celebrity guests there. There weren't any massive lines at Hall H, waiting to see 5 seconds of the next MCU movie or whatever. It was all about comic books, and there were some creators there that were just really cool. It was such a good experience, man. It really was.
And it was good business too. They said they sold more books than they've had the last number of years.
Yeah. We sold out of, that's where we dropped Prometheus In Chains #1. We had a couple of variants for it. Oh, really? And we sold out of them really fast, really fast. Wow. Yeah. So it was great. Thank you. Yeah. And, again, like I know my place in the comic book world. I'm nobody, so to be there with all these somebodies and to be able to have people who are coming here to buy books from somebody to kind of accept what I've created and want to pick it up. That's cool. And I even had a couple people who had bought Cult of Dracula or Rise of Dracula before, and they brought me their books to sign. And that's mind blowing to be at San Diego Comic-Con and somebody comes and says, "Hey, I bought your book. I love it. Can you sign it?" I'm like, wow. Oh, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, congratulations on all that success at San Diego Comic-Con. Les Lyndon Garner says, yo, 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 yo.
Hey, what's up? Les is actually my artist in Reign of Dracula.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, in the words of Kenobi, hello there. Good to can't help it, man. I love that. I love that the franchise, too. I like it a lot. So let's see. David says, "You're somebody to me, Rich. You're somebody. You're not a nobody. You're a somebody." Yeah. And then he also goes on to say, I will check out your work.
I appreciate that because, I love sharing it with people. And also, if nobody checks it out, I don't get to keep doing it anymore.
So there you go. You got a new fan in David V. Mamina. So
thank you, my friend.
Yeah. There you go. Rock on. Supporting other people. That's the beauty. That's one of the beauties of life.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Because a wise person once said, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, it does.
Let's do ourselves a favor. Let's keep it that way. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Rich Davis from Reign of Dracula for being our guest on this episode, an historic episode of And I Quote. Rich, it's been a pleasure having you here and hearing your stories and all the advice you're giving to us who want to be aspiring writers and artists and that sort of deal. Rich, you're the man. You're the MVP of this episode. And for the person watching or listening to this that wants to know more about you or perhaps even purchase one of your books, where can they follow you on social media?
So you can follow me on all the socials at World of Dracula. My website is worldofdracula.com. So kind of seeing a theme there. You can find my books in comic book stores all over the world, or the collected trade paperback editions. They are available anywhere that Simon & Schuster books are sold. So you can get, I saw Cult of Dracula at Target. So, it's pretty wild. So yeah, at World of Dracula on everything, and pick up my books in your local comic book shop first, because local comic book shops are the heart, the soul, and the backbone of this industry. Right
on, man. Right on. Well, Rich, thank you for being here. Do greatly appreciate it. I'm going to talk to you here in just a moment. We appreciate you being our guest on this episode of And I Quote. For those of you who want to keep up with the insanity of the fact that I haven't seen half the movies that Rich has mentioned during the course of this episode, apparently I have no life and I have no education. But Rich is going to be my new educator, so maybe he can teach me a few things about the vampire genre that I'm already aware of. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, RyanRPM5. Check us out on all forms of social media. I want to let you know something here, that we are this close to hitting what is known as 1,000 subscribers, the magical number of 1,000 subscribers. And once we do, we're going to throw a great big live stream celebration that Rich Davis is definitely invited to be a part of and share more of the greatness that is comic books, because comic books are great, by the way. And more people are going to be joining us. We're going to have surprise guests. Also, we're going to have special giveaways for you, are the incredible fans or subscribers to this channel, including prints that are 11 by 17. Provided by our good friend, the Art of John Pinto, on Instagram and Facebook. Look at this. You can have Spider-Man going up against Green Goblin in Queens, New York from the Daily Bugle on your wall. You can have that on your wall, in your office space, somewhere along those lines. If you're a fan of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, you can end up winning this, and we can send it to your home or your office, something like that. Or if you're a fan of something that Rich and I, something to bond over, which is the War in the Stars, Star Wars. If you like Darth Vader, for instance, I don't know if Rich likes Darth Vader, but you can end up winning this print, and we're going to send it straight to your door. So the best thing you can do is tell your friends about us, because they're going to tell their friends, and so on and so on and so forth. You know how these things go. Also, if you're a Star Wars fan like Rich and I are, tune in to the Nerdy Cantina, where we discuss all things Star Wars, Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. That's right. We're on the Twitch. We're on Twitch. So follow us there. The Meaning of Fandom new episodes are going to be dropping very soon, where we have a roundtable of special guests. And Rich, you're invited to be a part of this too in the future, where we have people share what a particular fandom or character means to them and why. We learn from each other. That's what we do on the Meaning of Fandom. Rich, you're invited to this, my friend. So stay tuned for that. Lots of great things coming your way very soon. Thank you so much for being here and supporting our channel. We've gotten a lot of comments and feedback from you, our incredible viewers or listeners or subscribers. It's been great to see all your comments, you interacting with us in the chats during our shows when you're able to do so. If you're watching any of our videos on the replay, we thank you for doing so. You're just as important as anyone else. And we thank you for the support, because we do our best to entertain you. We do our best to pay it forward and support other indie artists or content creators out there, such as Rich. He's doing a bang up job with vampires, even though it may not be necessarily my favorite cup of tea in the morning. But hey, if it's something that you enjoy, maybe someone else will enjoy it. I don't know. The possibilities are endless. But thank you for being a part of this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified whenever new videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when reading. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Choose high-flying action. Choose death-defying escapes. Choose spine-tingling thrills. Choose nail-biting intrigue. Now's your chance to choose the adventure. The Captain Hawkland Adventures. Available on Amazon.com. You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.